Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your Winter Wonder hosts.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and when there's just too much cool anime to watch, we got you covered. Winter anime season has rolled into our lives like an oversized snowplow driven by a rabid drunk person screaming "Umu" from the top of their lungs, and I think as usual John is to blame for all of this. Explain yourself, sir. No, actually don't.
I have no such obligation.
Anyway, so before we dig into the cold, snowy masses to unearth some gold and or family secrets in our first review from fall season 2018, namely the second season of Golden Kamuy, let's just sit down, relax, and warm our hands over the flames of some hot new series premieres. Because, as we all know, nothing wards off the cold better than a good old anime trash fire. And we got plenty garbage to burn, so don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Alright, here we are in the sneak peek. As usual, we took a look at a bunch of new anime premieres from the now freshly started winter season 2019. And we're gonna, give each of them that we checked out, 2 or more sentences of due diligence to see what was good, what was not. And we have 3 categories: the nopes, the maybes, and the previously all-ins, but John suggested we call them the keepers. And I think that's a good decision because I totally forgot we called them the all-ins, so I guess that name was not made to stick anyway. So yeah, and since I apparently checked out a few more shows than John this time around, and there will be probably some overlap, I'm gonna start off by rattling off all my nopes that I looked at and decided, nope, not for me, thank you very much. Okay, let's get right into this. The first one is Wise, as in, why does this show exist?
Oh boy.
I did not even hear anything about this before this new season started, but this is a sneaky sequel to the Seekers!
Oh no.
One of the biggest dumpster fires in the history of this podcast and the history of anime in general, in my opinion. I
remember seeing this sort of come up on live chart and being like, oh, this looks like a thing. Oh, who's it made by? It's the same studios.
The Seekers.
I don't know, man. And I just sort of, I rinsed it out of my mind. And then when it came out, like, oh yeah, no, this is a sequel, I was like, why?
Yes, I reviewed the first season of this in our Trash Stash section in episode 32. And if you'd have told me that this abysmal, albeit hilariously bad trash heap would get a sequel in 2019, I would have deemed you a horrible person with a bad sense of humor. But here we are, and here this exists. And I mean, I could still review it for another Trash Stash entry, I guess.
Oh, don't do that to yourself, man.
Yeah, the novelty has worn off by now, and I don't think I need to suffer through an entirely new batch of episodes to tell you what is so bad about the show, because it's still all very apparent in its first episode. So just listen to my review of or something. It will save both of you and me some time and mental health. I love that the main character in this constantly says, "It doesn't mesh together," in the first episode. He means the different aspects of his life. But guess what? Neither do the different visuals of the show. But yeah, I think I'm good. Thank you very much. So, that's a nope. The next nope is The Price of Smiles. I think we briefly talked about this. Is this one a nope for you as well, or maybe?
It's a maybe.
All right.
Part of me wants to see where this goes, but the other part of me is like, I don't know, man. Jesus Christ. Because we started getting into the real shit that I thought we would. Like, I made a hard prediction.
Oh, yeah.
Before the second episode aired that shit would start happening and getting really, unexpectedly real. And it sort of started to go in that direction.
In the second episode, or?
Yeah.
Because I've only seen the first one.
A character that we are meant to believe is very key and central ends up super dead.
Oh, all right then. Well, like you said, death flicks everywhere, and that was always a possibility. Judging from the first episode, it's like the tone of the first episode. I was thinking the entire time, wait, are they serious with this? Because it's this weird, fluffy sci-fi show with a Moa princess that takes over as a regent, but apparently has no idea about the horrible reality of war that her kingdom is involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the people serving under her are trying like anything to protect her from that reality for some reason, to protect her smile or something.
All of the deaths of those soldiers, truly they were the price of our smiles.
Subtle. Yeah. And yeah, like you predicted, I expected also by the end of the episode 3 that everything would get super dark and, people would get dead or get tortured cross Anja style or something. I don't fucking know.
I don't think it's going to go down that disgusting of a route, but they've already hinted that none of these characters are sacred to you. They'll be gone anytime.
Yeah, and the problem is none of the characters in the first episode had me on the hook or got me invested in them. And I was like, okay,
Yeah, in the new key character they introduced in the third episode, she comes across as a bit disconnected from reality.
All right. In an annoying way?
In a very off-putting way.
Okay. I mean, if they try to work through that could be interesting. But, it's just I have to make some hard cuts this season if I don't want to drown in reviews come spring, because I still got some leftovers running right now that will wrap up by then. So this is one of those, could be better later, but nothing in the first episode made me want to invest the time to, actually see where this is going shows.
Yeah, I mean, for Tatsunoko's 55th anniversary, makes me wonder what direction they want it to go in, because Jesus fucking Christ. The first episode and a half are here's an exposition dump.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that too.
Jesus, guys.
Let me explain everything about this kingdom, even if you don't give a shit. Yeah. Like I said, might get interesting later. Maybe some actual decent character development. I mean, the opening hints that the focus is on developing the relationship between the princess and I assume the character that gets introduced in episode 3. And yeah, that could be cool, but I have no incentive to go that length to find if they actually managed to do that. So,
well, I'll keep you posted whether or not I actually finish this.
Yes,
I'm not sure I will, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm interested. If you actually are gonna end up finishing it, if it turned out interestingly in a way. All right, the next note on my list is Kemurikusa. I didn't even want to bring this up because I watched only 10 seconds of this before I noped out hard.
Jesus.
And the reason for that is highly predictable, considering who is talking right now, because it's bad CG.
Oh.
But it's apparently a fantasy action show by the people who made Kimono Friends. So even for the low standards set by anime CG, this is a special brand of eye cancer-inducing stiffness. But many people liked what Kimono Friends had to offer story-wise, so maybe that will be the case here as well.
Look, it's okay, because the second season of Kimono Friends is on, so you can go back to Japari Park anytime you want.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the same author or same director or something. So yeah, maybe something is in here as well. However, I'm not willing to find out because I'm a shallow man who hates bad CG. This show has the worst CG. So I kicked this one to the curb immediately, and that's that. I don't know if you want to take a look at that. Maybe if you're not that, I don't have much of a problem with that, but I do. And yeah, that didn't do anything for me. And the last of my nopes is almost the same reason, though not entirely. And I think that's also one of your maybes, if I interpreted your tweets correctly, because the CG in this one could be worse, I guess, but it's taking the same approach as Kado the Right Answer did, and making the main characters CG and the side characters traditional 2D animation. which to me is the most baffling and wrong-headed idea I've come across in anime in recent years, and pulls me out of the show in almost every scene. And the name of the show is, by the way, the Magnificent Kotobuki, which is about this group of girl pilots in this kind of steampunky scenario.
They're basically guns for hire that they have airplanes that they go around in, and
oldish designed airplanes.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know when the next Macross is, but this gave me the dogfight stuff that I've been jonesing for. So I'll keep it around for now because of that. But like you, I can't get over the fact that why are the main girls CG and everyone else isn't? But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay because it's animated by Gemba. The same studio that did the last two Berserk series. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, this CG doesn't seem as bad as the one in Berserk. Or at least the models don't. They seem to be,
It's less offensive.
Yes. Especially, this doesn't have like super detailed artwork to pull from and ruin. But, it's still a shame because I think the setup, character constellation, and steampunky world design is pretty cool. But I just can't handle this ridiculous style choice. I don't get why they're doing it. It irks me to no end, just looking at it, and I hope it doesn't become a trend and instead dies very soon. But yeah, this puts me off so much and pulls me out of the show every time one of those characters is on the screen, talking to one of the characters who's traditionally animated. It's like, why is this? What? Why are you doing this? Anyway, so yeah. No other reason than that, but that makes it a sure nope for me. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's it for my nopes. If I'm not mistaken, I'm constantly looking at my show list, so so that I don't miss anything. But I think that's that. So John, why? We already had two of your maybes, so maybe give us another, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Well, I do have another nope to throw on the pile.
There we go then. Yes.
So anytime I hear Seven Arcs is working on a new show, my ears kind of perk up a little bit because, they've done stuff in the past that I really enjoy. Like, I don't think we've actually had a chance to talk about any of them, like Lyrical Nanoha or Dog Days or Mushi Bugyo.
We talked about Nanoha in passing.
But
yeah, I think when
we talked about Vivid Strike.
Yes.
But this time around, they picked up this series that I guess it's supposed to be a spin-off of Card Fight Vanguard. I don't know.
Okay.
It was announced at a Vanguard event by everyone's favorite company, Bushiroad. It's called Bermuda Triangle Colorful Pastrale.
Oh, that one.
And it takes place under the sea with these cutesy mermaid creatures, and it seems like very slice of lifey with a magical angle to it, like a low magical angle, and it basically put me to sleep. It just seemed really uninteresting, and I gotta be honest, I have lots of good words for Seven Arcs, but oh boy, not for this. It didn't look terrible, but it's definitely far below the bar that they had set for themselves in the past. So that sort of really put me off, and I just don't understand, because I saw, it says on Anime News Network, spin-off of Vanguard. Okay, so here I am. I'm looking at. I don't know jack shit about Vanguard other than it was magicked up by the same guy who created Yu-Gi-Oh! That's, the extent of mine.
Yeah, that's the extent.
Yeah, that's the extent of my knowledge. So I'm looking up some of the cards, seeing maybe these are, like incarnations of like different cards. No. So it left me really scratching my head like I was just a second. I was sorry if it got picked up on the mic. But it just sort of left me really confused, and I was sort of like, you know what? I think I'm good. And I just walked away from it.
Probably a smart choice. Mermaids can't get a break in anime, I guess. I mean, Valkyrie Drive Mermaid was also not a stellar outing, I guess.
Oh, don't remind me. Oh,
Though I don't know if there were actually mermaids in that. That just came to mind when you said mermaid.
I mean, as far as I know, there aren't, but I also watched, I think, an episode and a half.
Also, probably good reason to walk away from that one.
Yeah, because it was...
Good choice. Yeah.
But, I mean, that's it. That's pretty much it for my drops. I had one solid drop and then a bunch of your drops for my, I don't know, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you got for maybes?
The first maybe on my list, and it might be on yours as well, I'm not sure, but I think you at least talked about it. But yeah, it's a magical Spec Ops girl, Asuka.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So, now we are in hyper trash territory. Oh my god. So this is about a magical girl who fended off your typical magical girl show evil in the form of monster stuffed animals, who were very carnivorous. And because the skills she has gained in those harrowing battles would go to waste otherwise, she and the other surviving magical girls have become, or will become, special ops mercenaries who fight in normal wars and conflicts now, for some reason. And this premise is already so fucking dumb that I was immediately intrigued. But even I couldn't have foreseen the full force grim dark Madoka wannabe attitude, including gallons of blood and a bunch of flying body parts.
Yeah, this show does not skimp on the violence.
No, not at all.
I was legitimately shocked. I was like, Jesus.
Yeah. Like, the first episode at least made me yell, oh shit, out loud at least 2 times, while laughing at the same time. So yeah, it got that going for it. I mean, there have been many shows trying to do the dark magical girls thing since Madoka was so successful with it. None of them good, if I remember correctly, because they all missed what made that show actually great, which was not the dark stuff on its own.
It was a fucking Faustian inner conflict.
Yes, character development, great story, everything. Yeah, most of those didn't have that, and this one probably doesn't have it either. But it has lots of gore and ridiculous action and over-the-top bullshit. This one takes the cake with how unapologetically dumb it is, in my opinion. If the action stays this ludicrous and the animation doesn't fall flat on its face after a while, I might stick with it. It was fun enough. Like I said, I laughed a lot during the first episode. And yeah, if you're looking for the trash, besides Wise, this is probably the thing to watch this season. If we stick with it, if we manage to survive this thing, it's a surefire candidate for the trash stash this season.
I mean, I'm intrigued enough to see where they try to go with it.
Right.
The key word in that sentence: try.
Mm-hmm. All right, another maybe from your list.
That's actually it.
Oh, okay. You only got sure. Okay, then let me rattle off my maybes. There are a few more here.
All right, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So the next one. Speaking of dogfights, earlier, Girly Air Force.
Oof.
I don't know. You probably didn't take a look at this?
I didn't, but reading the synopsis and the terminology they chose, what the hell?
Did not sound great, not at all. So this is about a boy named Kei who evacuates from China to Japan with his childhood friend Minghua because Earth is under attack by a group called the Zai, who have these highly maneuverable aircrafts that completely outmatch normal fighter planes. And while on the rescue ship, a new kind of fighter jet appears in the sky and manages to actually fight the Zai on equal footing. And when it crash lands in the sea after the skirmish, Kei swims over to save the pilot, who is, surprising nobody in front of the screen, a hot young lady, who immediately kisses him because anime. And because that experience sticks with him and he wanted to do his part to help fight the Zai anyway, he investigates and eventually gets abducted by the people responsible for this new plane. And he learns that the girl in the plane was not human, but a special type of android called Anima, which is the autonomous interface for controlling the plane. So basically the physical form of the AI of the plane. And since she has taken a liking to him, he will probably be spending some more time with fighter planes than he expected in the future. And yeah, this is a light novel adaptation, and from, like John already mentioned, from the story summary alone, I did not have any high hopes for this to be anything but harem gutter trash. But I gotta say, I actually liked the dogfights in the first episode. It's fluid CG, the planes look pretty cool. The characters are also not really annoying yet, standard harem coding notwithstanding, but it didn't make the worst first impression. I'm getting, like you did from Kotobuki, I got some Macross vibes from it. And, you know, that makes sense considering it's a satellite show. Right now, I'm willing to find out more. It can still go horribly wrong and become the worst kind of trite romance bullshit, where Kei is constantly being pulled back and forth between his childhood friend Minghua, Grippin, the Anima that's into him, and all the other planes that still will appear later, judging from the OP, and might develop the hots for him after a while, including a bunch of hilarious misunderstandings.
Yay.
Who knows? If that happens, I'm gonna drop it like a hot potato, but I've only seen the first episode and there's some potential there. So I'm willing to give it a shot for now. We'll see what happens with that. I'll give it 2 more episodes and then decide. So yeah, the next maybe on my list is Boogiepop and Others. So this is based on one of the first highly popular light novels, or even the first one, I'm not sure. Or at least the one that kicked off the light novel craze and the light novel adaptation craze. So if you want to blame someone for that development, I guess you can go and talk to that author. But yeah, that already was adapted into a manga in 1999 and a live-action film in 2000. It's kind of hard to describe what this show is about because I've watched 2 episodes and still don't really have a grasp on it yet. It's a kind of mystery show that is about this urban legend of Boogiepop, who is said to be like this Grim Reaper-esque creature. And then girls start disappearing from the school this is set at, and suddenly a weird drug and a monster are also involved. It all comes across as pretty convoluted, and it doesn't help that the story is told in a very non-linear way. Like, the scenes in each episode and the episodes themselves are not told in chronological order. And it's kind of tough to fit the many different pieces together on a first watch. You have many flashbacks interspersed in any given scene with characters remembering something and something getting explained from one episode ago and then from the future and then back and forth. And it's all very, very confusing. It's kind of intriguing. Like, you know, it's like a big puzzle. But I don't know if I have the patience to spend every episode just guessing what is going on and trying to piece the timeline together in my head instead of, you know, focusing on the characters and what the show is actually trying to say. So we'll see. I give it at least another episode. I've only seen 2. So if things haven't become a bit clearer by then, I'm gonna nope out, but I'm not quite there yet. It's interesting enough. Characters have potential. The atmosphere is great. Music is cool. Visuals are very good. But, you know, it's I need something to really latch onto, and so far I haven't gotten that yet. So we'll see what happens after episode 3. Yeah, Jesus. Okay, my next maybe is Grimm's Notes, the animation. So the first episode of this was kind of nice because I did not expect anything from this going in, since it's an adaptation of an RPG for mobile devices by Square Enix.
Yeah, that's always kind of red flaggish to me.
Yeah. But I was surprised to find that I actually like the characters, who act very much like this slightly dysfunctional but very tight family, even though I think they're not related. All very sympathetic and funny, and yeah, they're this group that travels worlds informed by many different classic fairy tales, hence, you know, the Grimm name in the title of the show, and fight against characters from those stories who have been corrupted by the so-called chaos tellers, who change the fairy tales to their own liking and cause, well, chaos in doing so. everyone in this world has like this book of, I think it's called the Book of Destiny, where their entire life is spelled out. And the Chaos Teller basically throw all of that into array by changing their stories, which none of the characters living in these worlds are prepared for. So that causes a lot of chaos. And our merry band of siblings, or not siblings, friends, whatever, are there to fix this. And yeah, to do this, they transform into classic fairy tale characters themselves to gain special attacks and magic skills. So one of the characters transforms into Alice in Wonderland, and I think one transforms into Cinderella. Weirdly and cool enough, the male characters actually transform into girls in this show as well, and the girls transform into fairy tale characters as well. So that's pretty interesting that they did that as well. So yeah, that's also where I guess the gacha mobile game aspect comes into play. I guess the game itself would be like this Pokemon-esque thing where you collect all the fairy tale characters and use them in your battles. So that's what they do as well. But yeah, hard to say if I'll stick with it. The first episode was like this light, well-animated action romp. But it felt very in media res. We don't know any of the character backgrounds yet. It feels like the show expects us to know what they did before this. So I hope they actually go there and tell us something more about these characters in the coming episodes, which they did, really just didn't do in the first episode. Because like I said, the cast is very sympathetic, and I want to know more about them. If the show can actually give me some character depth here and tell an enjoyable little fantasy action story, I might stick around. I mean, I grew up with a bunch of these fairy tales, so it's fun to see how they play around with that in this show. Might turn out to be one of the few enjoyable game adaptations out there, might turn into total shitfest. I'm willing to give it another 2 episodes to find out what it actually amounts to. But so far, it's still a maybe. But I was surprised enough that it was not an immediate nope. So there you go.
Cool.
All right, 2 more maybes to go.
Wow.
Yeah. My roommate is a cat. Haha. Simple enough. So this is a slice of life show about a young successful mystery novel author called Subaru. He's very introverted, very antisocial, kind of a pain for his editor, very quirky, very eccentric. It's not entirely clear yet if he was always like that or, has become this since his parents died very early in his life. But when he visits his parents' grave one day, he stumbles across a young stray cat, later to be named Haru, and is struck by inspiration almost immediately and is able to concoct a bunch of wild scenarios in his head of why this cat would be after his life from now on. And can, derive new mysteries, plots and stories from that for his books. So to not let this source of inspiration dry out, he adopts the cat and now has to get used to something or someone else being in the house with him, which is not the easiest thing because, like I said, he's kind of a weirdo. And yeah, trying to interpret what she wants from him, what he is supposed to do with her, and how he's supposed to take care of her. It's all rather difficult. And Haru actually has to do the same, and that is the best part of this show because the series is showing the same occurrences, at least partially, both from Subaru's point of view and from Haru's. So we see these two not being able to know what to make of each other in the beginning, reacting to each other. We each see the different, point of view, their mindsets and everything, their reactions. And then slowly bonding over certain things and forming kind of a relationship. And yeah, it's funny and wholesome and cute as fuck. If I have to pick, I'm more of a dog person, but I like cats as well. And Haru is already an amazingly realized version of a, genuine cat personality in anime form. Very adorable. So yeah, I don't know if the show can keep me engaged for its entire runtime. I have a very, spotty relationship with these kind of shows, and I quickly drop off of them usually. But for now, it's got a very nice Iyashikei feel to it that, I'd like to see more of. With 2 neat characters who have a lot of potential, it just seems neat and nice. Really nice. And, the cat is very, very, very cute. So yeah. Then the last maybe on my list is, The Rising of the Shield Hero. I don't think I need to say a lot about this show because it's on everyone's tongue right now. It's the video gameiest isekai show that I have ever seen, I think.
Good. Yes. Excellent. I gotta go watch it now.
Which, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm not kidding. That dude got literally transported into an RPG, like a JRPG, with, a handy HUD overlay and everything.
God.
And, a skill tree and all of that shit. And it's about a boy who gets sucked into a fantasy novel and is summoned as one of 4 legendary heroes, only to immediately fall from grace, which is a nice twist to it, due to certain circumstances, and thus decides to make it on his own and try to find a way back home. And this is the edgelordiest isekai that ever edgelorded. It feels like it was written by a teenager who felt like he was treated badly by the people around him or society as a whole, and used the story to vent his frustrations.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing. It was kind of putting me off from it.
Yeah, me too. But I wanted to check it out regardless. But it's true. It's like, man, there are sentences like I could quote right now that would make you. I can't believe someone wrote this. It's like, since that day, all the taste has left my mouth or something. I can't taste any food anymore. And, stuff like that. And, even more problematic stuff. It makes some very questionable and problematic choices in terms of stories and characters, which I won't go in here now because that controversy is everywhere right now, right this moment. If I stick with it long enough to actually review it, I will address those things at that time, but not right now. But yeah, all of this sounds very negative, but the show actually has some good things going for it, in my opinion. I think the classic video game RPG world and mechanics they used are well realized, are very recognizable, and, make sense in this world. The animation is done by Kinema Citrus, so it looks pretty damn good. And Kinema Citrus also brought in the composer from Made in Abyss, Kevin Penkin, who delivers great stuff from the get-go in this series as well. So there's lots of stuff to like in this show. But right now, it's being a bit overshadowed by the problematic stuff, so we'll see where this goes. Right now, it's a maybe. Still a maybe for me. But there is enough in there that I could latch onto if they dial the edgelordiness back a bit. Which they already did in the second episode. Like, there's other edgelordy stuff in there suddenly, and more problematic stuff that was in the first episode for some reason. But, they also bring some stuff in there where in the beginning I was like, wow, this is the shittiest main character I've seen in quite a while, and I don't think there's any way that I could root for him in any way. And they actually managed to turn me around a bit in the second episode, which I didn't expect. Still not quite there yet. He's still a shithead, in my opinion. But, he has some hidden qualities, I guess. We'll see where this goes. It could be interesting because a lot of people's eyes are on this show. I might actually stick with it and see where it goes because I want to stay in the loop and want to know what the conversation is about and everything. But for now, it's still a maybe.
That's fair.
All right, that's it for my maybes. Jesus. And I only have the keepers left. So do you. So John, what is your first keeper?
Well, I think the first keeper is our collective first keeper, and that's Dororo.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, I mean, going into this, I didn't realize that this was originally a Tezuka manga, and that it actually had a series back in 1960-ish. So, learning that really intrigued me. But Dororo is about this. They're kind of not painting him as the main character at first, but it's about this young orphan thief who kind of falls into the company of this other young man named Hyakimaru, who is this powerful demon hunting guy. But before Hyakimaru's birth, his father, who's this very greedy feudal lord type, makes a pact with 40 demons, and they each take a piece of his unborn son's body in return for granting him great power. So Hyakimaru was born without arms, legs, eyes, a nose, a mouth. He's basically a husk.
Mm-hmm.
And his father had him thrown in a river, but one of his retainers decides, hey, I can't just go and kill this poor kid, even though his lot in life is really shit. So he puts him in a basket and sends him on his way. And he's kind of rescued by this doctor who basically makes him artificial limbs and helps to teach him how to fight these demons.
Which we haven't actually seen yet. We only can, assume that because we see the doctor and we see him making these prosthetics and then Hyakumaru running around with him, but we haven't actually seen the scene.
We haven't seen their interaction.
Yeah.
But basically each time Hyakimaru defeats one of these demons, he reclaims a piece of his body.
Mm-hmm.
And now he and Dororo travel together through this war-torn countryside in search of these demons. And man, Mappa was hitting on all cylinders with this one.
Oh, no kidding. It's a beautifully animated show. I mean, not only everything in the show looks really good. Backgrounds, character designs. I mean, sometimes really weird too, weird character designs. But yeah, really almost barely recognizable if you know the original Tezuka style. I think the only leftovers are the feet of the characters, which look like these. They look like they're wearing flash-colored, skin-colored socks.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that it's like, oh, okay, they kept that, but the rest it's very updated. It's very, very current anime style design. But yeah, cool.
There are flashes back to the original character designs in the intro sequence, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, and in general, the OP is awesome. It's fantastic, great song, great animation. It's one of my favorite ones this season, and But this is a great looking show. The characters are endearing. I mean, Hyakumaru is not really emoting a lot yet because he can't.
Yeah.
He only gets his face back in the first episode, so he doesn't have a voice yet or anything, and you get his feelings from his actions. It's very clear what he is doing and thinking in certain moments, but doesn't really have any real character interaction yet, so to speak, with Dororo. It's just a lot of guesswork for these two, and because he can not really see yet either, But yeah, it's still cool, and there's a lot of potential, and Dororo is fun and spunky and sympathetic, and there are a bunch of other characters in there too. There's potential, and all of this is pretty cool. It's a cool setting. It's got a nice, dark, moody atmosphere. I really enjoyed the setup for this and the design and everything.
Yeah, so you're definitely looking forward to more of it.
Yeah, definitely a keeper. All right. Then my next keeper is The Promised Neverland, which is probably one of the most successful current Shonen Jump series, and thus one of the most highly anticipated anime adaptations this season. It's about a bunch of kids living in an orphanage with a caretaker they call Mom or Mama, and they live a very happy, carefree life, have just to do a bunch of schoolwork and everything, but otherwise, they can play around and have fun, just have to do some chores and everything. There's just one pretty simple rule they have to obey without any doubts, and that's not to get too close to a certain gate near the forest. And as these things go, in the first episode, on a certain day, two of the kids do just that, and that's where things get very horrifying very quickly. I actually don't want to say much more than that because the series is so good at establishing a thick atmosphere that I don't want to ruin the plot revelation the first episode is building up to. It's worth discovering that yourself. Let's just say after that happens, they need to come up with a way to flee the orphanage as quickly and quietly as possible. It's thrilling, mega creepy. The suspense almost never lets up. The characters are endearing as hell, which makes what happens in the show all the more harrowing, already getting severe Made in Abyss flashbacks here. The animation is great, which surprised me because Cloverworks is doing this. But I guess it goes to show that if you put enough money and talent and anticipation behind the show, studio names don't matter. And I'm happy about that because I was very much looking forward to this show since it got announced. And so far, my expectations have not only been met but exceeded. I was on the edge of my seat for the entire runtime of the first 2 episodes, and I can't wait for the next one. I really like the 3 main characters in this, and I wanna see them through this. I'm already like firmly on the hook for this one, and the OP of this one is fantastic as well. Also one of my favorites this season. So
That's good because when the name Cloverworks came up, I had a little bit of trepidation too.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll go back and check it out if I have a chance.
Yeah, maybe you'll like it as well. I think it's really good, and this is nothing like the stuff I've seen from Cloverworks until this. Really, really good. I mean, Cloverworks is only a former sub branch of A1, so I mean, even A1 can do good stuff if they have enough budget behind it, like Sword Art Online shows. So I guess that's the same case here. And I bet they landed a lot of production stuff from A1 proper as well. So, borrowed, not landed. This production-wise, I have nothing to complain. This is a fantastic looking, sounding, acted, everything show. And I hope it stays that way, and the story is very promising too. So yeah, definitely go check this one out. If you're interested in a thrill ride, because this is gonna be one of those, I think. Okay, John, your next keeper.
My next keeper is a magical journey that I had waited several years for, and it switched studios because the original studio went bankrupt and shut down, which is unfortunate. But we're back. We're back, baby. The myth, the legend. Date Alive Season 3.
All right. I've heard of Date Alive, but I've never checked it out.
It's dumb. It's really dumb. It's stupid and it's dumb, but I love it.
What was it about again?
Okay, so basically the setup is that there had been a strange phenomena called space quakes that were devastating the planet, like all over the place, claiming the lives of tons of people. And since then, smaller ones have been plaguing the world on a weirdly irregular basis. So our main plucky hero, Shido Itsuka, who's a seemingly ordinary high schooler, comes across a mysterious girl at the ground zero of a spacequake and learns from his sister Kotori that this girl is one of the spirits who are the real cause of the spacequakes that occur when they manifest themselves in the world. He also learns that Kotori is the captain of the ship Ratatosker, and he ends up consequently getting recruited to make use of his mysterious ability to seal the spirit's powers to stop them from being a threat to mankind. And to seal the spirit, he has to make the girl fall in love with him.
Oh, boy.
So it's a harem from the onset, and it's dumb. Like I said, it's dumb and it's stupid, but the characters are all just really likable, and that's what really got me on the hook when it started. When it started with Project IMS must have been 4, 5, 6 years back, and now it's being worked on by JC staff, and I'll tell you what, JC staff is putting in the effort on this that they're not on Index, so
I guess we know where the money is going.
Yeah. So the crux of this season is that a new spirit named Natsumi has arrived, and she can take on the appearance of other people. And her big challenge to Shido is, which one of these 12 am I? If you can't figure it out, then they'll all disappear. And, the setup for the season is a bit more interesting because, the stakes are a bit higher because this new spirit is just willing to just off these people that are close to Shido. And I think that makes it a bit, I don't know if it's got to be part of the original game. Oh, yeah. And by the way, this is based on a game which is based on a light novel.
All right.
And,
double whammy.
Yeah, basically. But I've been in it this far, and I'm interested to see where the plot goes from here. So, it's like SAO, where I got to know what happens, but in a good way, because I actually enjoy this for all of its dumbness and stupidity. So it's fun. I think it's worth watching if you just want, something that's silly.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's good, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about it once you review it.
Yeah. I hope JC staff is able to keep it looking, because the first 2 episodes, everything looked really nice and good. The animation was consistent. All the characters were on model. So yes, keep that momentum going, please. But yeah, that's Stay Alive, and I'm looking forward to more of it. What's our last keep? What could it possibly be, I wonder?
The Last Keeper, yeah. Big surprise for everyone who took even a slight glance at the lineup for this season. It's the return of Shiro T. Poison and our favorite con artist. It's Mob Psycho 100 Season 2.
Yes!
And yeah. Oh, speaking of great OPs, not sure if I can beat the OP from the first season, because that was a Century Slayer OP, but it's definitely a banger, and it's definitely out there. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say it right now. OP of the year. Boom. Boom.
Yeah, quite possibly. Mob Psycho 100 is back with a bang, and if we reviewed the first season, I think both of us loved it without any reservations. And I immediately after watching the first episode of the second season was like, I don't remember some of these characters. It's been too long. Let's just rewatch the first season, which I did. I binged that all the way through. Just some of the side characters I had forgotten. I was like, oh yeah, those were amazing, right? That was that guy, and fantastic, and I loved it again from beginning to end. And the second season also starts incredibly strong. Immediately gets us endeared to Mob and Reagan all over again, and all for different reasons. The Body Improvement Club is back, who are also fantastic. As if they needed to endear Reagan anymore to me. But they went the extra mile and made him be nice to a dog in the second episode and punched the little Shih Tzu Drew on the dog's face. And I was like, he truly is the best boy. Without a doubt. Reagan is top tier character of all time. No, really, fantastic. The show, again, is bursting with creativity. There's so many funny jokes in this, so many visual ideas. The second episode has an action scene that is peak Bones to the max. Looks fucking fantastic. And man, there's nothing to dislike about this show in my opinion. It's just fucking fantastic. Bones is best in the biz, and the author of this one, who also did One Punch Man, is just apparently a very gifted fellow. So yeah, I love this show. I can't wait to see where this season goes. It starts off a bit episodic, slice of life, but the first season did that too, and then later we got the stuff where the organization Claw reared its ugly head, and then things got more serious, and I imagine this is gonna happen in this season as well, because season 1 set up a lot of things for this season, for the future. And the OP is also showing us a lot of the characters from that story arc from the past season as well. So yeah, I imagine that's going to come up rather sooner than later. And yeah, I can't wait. I love Mob Psycho 100 to death, and I'm so looking forward to following this series again. And I cannot recommend this show hard enough. John, you probably feel the same.
Yeah, basically, I feel like it's not fair, because both this and My Hero are both Bones shows, and they both look great, but for different reasons. Because I think this show lets them really stretch their creative muscles, where and My Hero isn't completely by the numbers, but it's still fun and it still looks great. But Mob Psycho is just so crazy and outlandish in comparison that it just yes, more. Give me more.
Yeah,
I want
My Hero
more of
Academia.
it.
Yeah,
Why aren't you watching it? Yes, you listening, you specifically.
exactly. If you haven't checked out the show yet, I curse you. There you go.
Why aren't you
And you will be-
listening? Or why aren't you watching Todd?
No, you can only exactly, Todd. You can only lift this curse by watching a show about spirit mediums, and that is Mob Psycho 100. So there you go. And yeah, you're right. My Hero Academia has kind of perfected shonen style in terms of design. Very sharp character designs, very sharp, consistent animation. And the positive polar opposite of this is Mob Psycho 100 with its very loose, very, hyper fluid, weird, crazy, character designs and animations. And it feels much more, much more loose and wild and in story aspects too. And these shows complement each other very well, I think. If you watch both of them, I think you got a good package there, a good bones package. And I hope One Punch Man, which is also more in the vein of My Hero Academia, with a lot more sharp, great-looking action, at least in its first season, will live up to that in its second season, in going to JC stuff as well. We'll see about that. But for now, we got the other outing from Ron in Mob Psycho 100 Season 2, and it looks and sounds fantastic, and the characters are as great as ever. And we're getting new cool ones as well, like new character introduced in the second episode. I hope he returns because I found him to be very sympathetic as well and funny and everything. So great show, fantastic show, amazing show. Check it out. It's definitely my number one keeper for this season. And I think everyone should, everyone who likes anime should check it out. All right. And that's it for the sneak peek for this episode. But of course, we're not done yet. We still have a review to do. And we're going to do just that and return to the wild, wild east. So here we are, back with our favorite gang of not Western, but kinda hoodlums, not really cowboys, but
Not really cowboys, not really Indians.
Yeah, but kinda they are. There are so many parallels to classic Westerns in Golden Kamuy that comparison is very valid. But as we decided to do, or as I decided to do, very egoistically, with continuing seasons outings on this show, we're gonna freely talk about the season from now on. So spoilers are gonna run rampant. If you don't want to know anything about this show, or don't know anything about the show, but just want to know what it's about, and want to take a peek at it, and want to know if this might be for you, go check out episode 52, Mixed Bags of Gold. That's where we reviewed the first season of Golden Kamuy. No spoilers in that one. And I think we can. That already gives you a pretty good idea about what that show is doing and what it's about and why you should watch it, maybe, if you're interested. But now we're gonna talk about the show, assuming that people who are listening to this might have watched it or just don't care about spoilers. So where did we leave off in at the end of season 1? I think the characters were basically on their way to the prison Abashiri, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, where the father of Asuka, one of our two main characters, is imprisoned, who is assumed to have stolen all the gold from the Ainu tribe that Asuka belongs to, and hid it somewhere, and the clues are spread all over the tattoos put on his fellow prisoners. And, they have already collected some of those tattoos, some willingly from people, some by killing them. Because most of these prisoners, of these escaped prisoners who have these tattoos on their bodies, are fucking psychopaths. And encountering them is not the safest thing. And, some are willing to let you make a copy of, the drawings, and some are even willing to join the gang and everything. But some are not so much. And we got these, 3 factions at this point. There is Sugimoto, who's the other main character, and Sirpa, with a bunch of other guys they met on the way. And we got the faction of the I don't know what they're calling themselves. It's the revolutionists. I don't remember, but of an old Shinsengumi guy called Hijikata, who's like this old policeman basically, who is not happy with how the country is going, and he wants to find a goal to create basically his own state, if I'm not mistaken. Or take over the country, found his own nation. I don't really remember what his actual eventual goal was supposed to be, but yeah, that's his motivation somewhere in that regard. And then on the other side, we have the 7th Division of the Army, who is headed by a genuine crazy person. Was he Colonel Tsurumi?
I believe so.
So yeah, he's the head of that division, and he's trying to fight the goal to, I think, fund a weapon factory, if I'm not mistaken, to create the best weapons in Japan, and give it power and give all the people work and everything who under his command. And he has also some genuinely understandable and good motivations, or at least they come from a good place, but his methods are also not fantastic. And I could be misquoting, stuff here, because it's been a while since we've seen season 1, and I don't quite remember what the characters' motivations were. But I know that both of them had legit reasons to do what they do, and are not in it just for the greed and the power. It's they think they're gonna do a good thing with the gold, but the methods to get there are anything but. And it's a very violent show, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, we started the second season by basically continuing where we left off. They're on the way. All of these parties are on their way to prison, and I don't remember if it happens right at the beginning of this season or it has happened at the end of previous season. But we have this uneasy alliance between the Hijikata side of things and the Hijikata group and Sugimoto and his group, and those two are working together. On the other side, you have the army, and basically most of the show of this season, except for the last third, consists of characters hunting for more of the prisoners, and then we get a kind of a short plot where Shiraishi, one of Sugimoto's companions, is kind of imprisoned, and they try to free him. And then the last third of this is basically the big climax of this first story arc, I would say. Not even of the season, but the entire first arc, where they try to break into Abashiri prison, and if not free, at least confront Asirpa's father and try to find out where the gold is. If Asirpa talks to him, most of them think, yeah, maybe then he will actually tell her where the gold is, and we don't actually need to hunt for all of these prisoners and everything. That's basically the gist of it, and that's what's happening. Sounds pretty straightforward, but this is Golden Kamuy, so there's so much crazy shit happening in this season that even if I told you what it is, you probably wouldn't believe me. Because this show is so wacky that you just don't know what to expect. And I love it for it. I think it's fantastic, and I think you feel the same way.
Oh, yeah, definitely. This was, I think we said it last time we were talking about this. It felt like this was one of the big shows that they were, like Crunchyroll in particular, were trying to hype up. And I was like, I'll check it out. And man, holy shit, this show takes you for a ride in so many different ways.
Yeah, there's so much stuff stuffed into this one show, this one season even, that a lot of other shows would completely collapse under. And for some fucking reason, this show, with its really tight production budget, its shitty animation, and don't get me wrong, this is a pretty bad looking show with a lot of janky animation, for some reason manages to pull off regardless. Like, with ease, it feels like. Like, with a, oh yeah, I can do that in my sleep. Here, have a new character. And he's immediately super enticing. Oh, here, have this new plot point that you fucking didn't see coming. Suddenly, out of nowhere, and you're immediately engaged. And, so many surprising shit happening. So many plot twists. So many characters changing allegiances. Offering suddenly super engrossing backstories that pull you immediately on their side, or, at least make you understand them a lot better and make you feel for them, or at least want to see their point of view. And all of this, like, I cannot understand how this show manages to put all this together, and in a very acceptable pacing, in my opinion. I never had the feeling during this show that the show moved too fast or too slow. It always felt just right. I don't know. Did you get the feeling from this as well?
No, I think that's a testament to the writing and the direction, because I was actually curious while I was watching the show, and I was looking up like chapters of the manga, and each season covers about 70 chapters, and it's pretty evenly paced and shockingly well executed. I mean, like you said, the animation is the sticking point, because it's our good friends at Geno Studio, who we talked about during Kokoku, and that show had its it had its issues in more than one way as well. But this show, I like to think of this as, I think my go-to comparison for a while is still 91 Days, because on the animation side, it's not great, but on the storytelling side, it's still really strong.
Oh, yeah.
And it holds itself together well enough that I was able to be like, I can overlook this to see, how this story develops.
Yeah, and it's exactly like you said. Like, Kokoko had the same animation problems, but also the story didn't come together.
Yeah,
and
I think when we talked about it, we were like, hey, Mr. Villain Guy, what if this? And if that's the crux of the story, then you could just immediately diffuse this weird conflict that they were going for.
Yeah, and that's only one of the few problems, characterization in certain parts. I mean, the show had some strong points there as well, but in the end, there was too much stuff in the story that didn't work. And for some reason, Golden Kamuy, bad animation aside, everything in this fucking story works, even though it's the most ludicrous, bananas assortment of characters that just shouldn't work. Like, everything in this should not work the way it is, like, put together, and how it jumps from one scene to another and from one new character to another. But it all feels like it belongs together in this weird, stitched together slice of life, Western or Eastern tale, and it's everything. It's so like funny and enticing. It's just marvelous. This show is a marvel to me. I don't know. I don't know how
this show spins on its heel very quickly from being very dramatic to incredibly amusing, and it does it so well.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing. If you have a tonal whiplash like that in another show, it can like completely destroy any semblance of atmosphere, of investment in the show. And for some reason, that never happened to me in Golden Kamuy. I was always engaged. I was always linked to these characters, even when they got their most crazy and the action scenes got ridiculous and over the top, and everyone was making dumb jokes and dumb faces and slapstick comedy, which there's a lot, and characters doing the most crazy and vile and violent and gory and brutal shit. And still, this has so much of what I like about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in it, but in certain parts it goes even further than that, in my opinion. And I love it for it. I mean, that kind of crazy might not work for everyone out there, but definitely I would say everyone needs to give it a chance. Like I mentioned before, the one thing the show probably does the best is keeping you on your toes, because it does so many things you don't expect. Like a lot of things in the show, like just story-wise and character-wise, didn't go the way I expected they would.
Mm.
Like, is this gonna be a plot development, or just a random scene about a guy getting a fake leg from a person he does not know, and everyone being delighted at the hospital staff getting annoyed over the fact that it's actually a gun filled with buckshot being fired in the building. Does that sound like it makes no sense? Good, because it kind of doesn't, but it still works. And that's the weird and good thing about this show. Like, there's so many weird ideas in this. There's so many stuff in this that should not work, or feels like it belongs into a different series or a different episode. But it's in there, and it fits, and it works, and it's a mystery to me. And yeah, I think besides from the strong story structure, the show is always steering towards a very clear end goal. You know, it takes some detours, naturally, but it always feels like, okay, we're going to arrive at this point, but we're going to have a lot of fun on the way there. So, you know, stick with us, because we're going to get you there. And the show definitely does. And boy, that climax at the end of the season is something to behold. Like, that was one of the most thrilling, heist-esque movie scenarios I've ever seen. Like, once like the shit goes awry, and of course it does. Like, you see them, you know, making all the plans and like going into the prison and like, okay, this is how we're gonna get Noparabo out of here. And you're like, yeah, that's gonna happen. And of course, then, you know, shit goes immediately wrong. And then it goes even more wrong. And even more wrong. And holy shit, does it go wrong. And it's all incredibly thrilling and surprising and shit you didn't see coming happening, you know, out of the wazoo. Man, I was so satisfied with this finale. And I was kind of worried at the beginning of the season. It's like, okay, I thought we were going to the prison immediately at the start of this, and now we're still fuzzing around a bit with, you know, some new characters. Which, don't get me wrong, also super fun. Like, what was the name of that super weird psycho with the skin suits at the beginning? Edo Guy or something?
Oh, Edo Guy. Oh, jeez, yeah. Edo Guy.
Amazing. Fantastic. Him and his scenes with Surumi are the stuff of dreams. Like, it's the weirdest fucking shit you've ever seen, but it's amazing. But it's still, you know, it feels like this kind of one-off story that is part of the overall plot, because they need to get the tattoos and everything. And there is some characters development for the other characters too, but it feels like, okay, I thought we were going to the prison and free him, because that's what the end of the season 1 teased, with the shadow of the prison looming in the background of the final screen and everything. And they don't do that. And I was like, okay, I had hope for that. And immediately I was, you know, after first 1 or 2 episodes, I wasn't missing that at all. I was like, okay, no, we can't go with this for as long as you want, guys. I love it. Please don't stop this. And then after that, even before we get to the prison, we get a fantastic flashback episode for Sugimoto. You know, besides all the weird wonky shit I mentioned, there are also like these incredibly somber and thoughtful moments sprinkled in between that, again, like John already said, with all the weird shit happening in the next scene, maybe shouldn't work and shouldn't pull you in and shouldn't have the emotional effect that they set out to have, but they do. There's this scene with Sugimoto and Serpa, like trying to find shelter from a storm, from a blizzard on a mountain, by skinning a deer and just hiding in the inside of the deer. And they're like lying together and they talk to each other. And, you know, it's that it was always clear from the first season that Sugimoto has to deal with PTSD because of the stuff that he experienced in the war, in the Russo-Japanese War. And he says that you have to destroy some part of you to survive war. And those who can't rebuild their old selves by going back to their families or reconnecting with their old lives in another way, you know, after the war has happened, those people stay trapped on the battlefield, even when returning home from the war. And that fits a lot of the characters in this story. And, a lot of the crazy characters, and probably a lot of people in real life who have fought in a war or a similar emotional harrowing conflict too. And it's nice that such a wacky show can dish out some thoughtful moments once in a while as well and make them work. And they do work, and that's amazing to me. It's like, this is one of those rare moments which show us that Sugimoto is still suffering a lot from his experience in the war and, losing his best friend and all that. And the series displaying him as this major badass tends to make you forget that he is a deeply damaged person. And then the series takes its time for at least half an episode to show you that. And show you, no, this is a deeply, deeply damaged, hurt character who is just trying to find a way to get back to his old life. And he thinks he can do that by helping a Sirpa find the gold and maybe find his place in the world again. And that's so sad. And weirdly enough, between all this bullshit, all this wonky, crazy crap happening around it, this scene hits home. It hit home for me. And I was like, man, god damn it. That sucks, Sugimoto. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for you, man. And wouldn't work if these characters weren't written so amazingly. But they are, and it works. And there's Tanigaki's story, the hunter who kind of in the first season first starts by hunting Sugimoto's group together with the boner guy, the boner hunter, and then he joins the group because he takes a Sirpa's grandma helps him out, and he wants to help her out and everything. And he's a really cool character, and we learn his backstory in this season as well, and it's also really good and really fucking sad, and immediately makes him one of the most relatable, engaging characters. And it's such a great background story, and you're immediately like, oh my god, he can't die. Please don't let him die. Tanigaki is an amazing person, please. And all of these like great character drawings, like psychological character drawings, make the stuff that happens during the course of the series very harrowing, because like I said, there are a lot of twists happening and a lot of unforeseen things where characters are put into very dangerous situation all of a sudden, and characters are turning on other characters, and it's like, holy shit, this just... The threat level on this just got turned up to 11, and I don't know if the characters I like will get out of this situation. And the show does a really good job of convincing you that they probably won't. So, yeah, man, like I said, there's so much stuff that works in the show. I don't know, who's your favorite character in this? Because I have a really, really hard time to pick.
There's too many to pick from.
Yes, right?
That's the problem, because they're also... Well, most of them are just so incredibly sympathetic, and they have these just sad backgrounds, and that just make you feel like, oh, I don't want to see you get hurt.
And they're not cheap. They're not cheap backgrounds. No. It's not like, oh my god, we need to put some emotional, sappy story in there for this character to make him relatable. It's like, no. Every time it's like, oh my god, this makes total sense in what I've seen from this character so far. And we've spent enough time with those characters up to that point to make that work. And it's like, oh, of course. Yes, that's why the character is that way. And that makes total sense to me. And now I understand that character. And that character doesn't necessarily immediately die or get expulsed from the series in another way or anything. So it's not like this cheap thing that is trying to wring some emotional response off of you by giving the character a sad backstory and then killing them off, which another show that we are watching is doing right now. Introducing characters we have never heard of and then kill them off 5 minutes later after giving us a sappy backstory. Anyway, no, Golden Kamuy doesn't do that. Golden Kamuy definitely does not do that. It just transforms these characters into real people, ridiculous people, crazy people, often very scary people, but still, you can understand them and you can relate to them in a weird way. And that is a weird thing because the cast of the show is gigantic. And it shouldn't be able to make that many characters work. But they do. And I love that a lot of them are antagonists in this show. And speaking of antagonists, I can't decide who is scarier. I want to see what you think about this. Like, who is your most scary guy? The Kafka-esque batshit crazy of Tsurumi, or the ice-cold psychopath attitude of Ogata?
I mean, they're scary for different reasons because Tsurumi is exceptionally manipulative, and he just has this way of charming the people around him. And I think, the way he sort of has this cult of personality following him around, it can be...
everyone calls him the seducer. So.
Yeah, that can be really, off-putting. But with Ogata, he's just... He'll just turn on a dime and can shoot you in the back of the head, and that's scary for that reason, too. He's
a fucking psychopath, and now we know why he is that way. Like... Yeah, there is pretty understandable reason. I mean, it's easy to say that, but it is a reason why he turned out this way. It's good enough, and he is just like everything. Every time you look into these cold, dead eyes, you are immediately like, "Oh my god, this is." I don't know what this guy is thinking at this moment, but it's not good. He is scary as fuck, and and like you said, Tsurumi, cult of personality, he is scary because he can seduce, like, even the craziest people. And, those are the people who flock to him the most. Like, all of the people around him are, like, fucking batshit insane and completely devoted to him. Tsukishima is probably the most normal person, his second in command, kinda. And I feel kind of sorry for him because he seems like he's maybe ruthless, but not completely batshit insane. And then everyone else around him is like this fucking mess of a person. One crazier than the other. And Tsurumi all handles them like puppets with ease. And that makes him probably the most dangerous person, at least when it comes to pure power play in this series. Hijikata probably being the other. But he's not crazy. He's just very calculating. But he comes across as a very smart head on his shoulders guy who's got a plan for a lot of things. But it's not, method to the madness kind of plans like Tsurumi has. It's just very smart, very calculating, very experienced, clever, and dangerous. That's also cool, but it's not really super scary. It's just, okay, he's a competent guy, and you need to be careful because of that. But yeah, so many great antagonists too. It's like, I'm happy when a show has one great antagonist, like, that it can draw from. But this show has at least 2, if not 3, and then all the fucking amazing side characters. I was very glad, even though he's kind of underfeatured in this season, that Dick Sensei was back. He's fantastic as always. Every scene he's in, I think he steals the scene. If Shiraishi is not in it, because let's be honest, he's probably the funniest guy in this series. Like, every scene he's in cracks me up. Every face he makes cracks me up. He does like the dumbest shit on a like consistent basis, and it's always great. And the comedy in the show is fantastic. The first season was already funny, but I think the second season upped the ante again in that regard as well. A lot of jokes in there that I did not see coming and laughed a lot about. Like the scene where they eat the fucking otter meat, sea otter meat, and get a bit rowdy with each other. That made me laugh so hard. There was like a what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas scene. And good stuff. And I love that, of course, Ogata was the only one who got excluded from this, because that also makes sense for that character. Because he would not be, swayed by a simple aphrodisiac. Not that guy. He just gets a bit more hot, and that's it. While the others are in dire need to practice sumo. Man, this show, so much crazy shit in that. the female character in the show are also great. I mean, this is a very male-dominated cast, but Asurpa is in there and she's great. And we get some stuff that in this season that heavily relates to her relationship with her father and her heritage and everything, and a lot of revelations from that. And she, of course, becomes very integral in the last third of the show because it's all about getting her dad out and everything, or see if it's even if it's her dad, because we don't know at this point, because there some things happened before that pull that into question. And her relationship to Sugimoto is great. Like, this is their relationship is one of the most well realized I've seen in recent years in anime. It's like, yeah, I get why these characters just stick to each other and why they mean so much to each other. And her relationship with all the other characters, and her freaking out about Ogata finally saying Chitatap while
Yes,
was so fucking adorable, and none of the other guys heard it. So there's so many endearing moments with these characters where it's like, what was this thing? Oh yeah, there was also like Sugimoto like freaking the fuck out about getting to eat fucking salmon chitatap, and like really looking forward to that. And it's like, it's a chitatap of chitataps. It's amazing. I can't fucking wait. She said it. He's so happy. And it's like, yeah, of course you would be. This show is still kind of in the vein of Food Wars. This is also very much a food porn show. And there's a lot of nice food prepared in this. And we learn more about nature, which is also one of the great aspects of this series, like this kind of being a semi-documentary thing. And, we also learn something more about the Ainu people and everything. So, yeah, this is not all crazy fun. You also learn something from this show, as if this didn't offer enough already.
See, kids, anime can be educational.
Yes, exactly. It really can be. That's not a joke. This show taught me things. I mean, I can't attest to them all being, like, super true. Like, maybe they got some of the things wrong, but it seems valid, and I didn't even expect the show to go there in certain points, and it's really interesting, it's informative, it's fun, and another thing the show does well. I mean, man, talk about an embarrassment of riches. It's just fantastic. And the other female character, Inkamat, is also cool. She also gets more integrated into the main cast, also because she has a special relationship to one of the characters that's more relevant to the story. She's also one of the characters, just like Ogata, where you never really know what she's thinking and what her angle is and everything, which, again, keeps you on your toes and makes you second-guess everything that she does, and that's also really interesting. And, there's a couple of more characters in here that do that. And, yeah, that keeps the tension high. That keeps the thrills high and the quota of surprises and neat plot twists high as well. Man, this show is fucking fantastic. And I would love to sing its praises even more, but I just want to say, go out and fucking watch it. Don't be turned away by the bad animation. This is one of those rare examples where it's like, it's bad that I say that because I'm so non-compromising when it comes to bad CG in anime, and I, stepped away from at least two shows of season just because of the virtue of them looking bad. And I get that is bad, on my end.
Well, sometimes it happens. Sometimes it doesn't have, that extra oomph to keep you there the way this show did, man.
Yeah. And I don't know if I hadn't heard about Golden Kamuy being this great thing beforehand that I would have stuck through all the bad animation, and I had my doubts I would. But I'm glad I did, and even more so in this second season, because at this moment the bad animation doesn't matter to me anymore, because I'm so invested in the characters, so invested in the fucking story. I don't give a shit. It's not like every scene is like this the worst thing. There are a lot of competent, well-directed scenes in this that managed to compensate a lot for the bad animation quality. And I want to commend the show for that as well, because it does the best with what it has, animation-wise. And then story-wise, character-wise, you got so much stuff to offer that you don't miss the other stuff. It's like you have so much good stuff on the other side that the small detracting factors don't matter to you anymore after a short while. And yeah, so please don't be scared away if you've seen a trailer or something, or if you've seen like some weird GIFs or something. It's like, oh, whoa, this show looks hilariously bad. Like the fucking CG bear or CG wolf in the first season that look atrocious. But don't, like, ignore all that. Say it's like, okay, that's how it is. But come and stay for the characters and the story, because they're amazing. They're crazy and hilarious and funny and cool and endearing and all of this, surprising. All that you could want from such a crazy show or any anime really is in this. And yeah, I liked it. Like I said, the climax of this season is probably my favorite things the show had to offer up to this point, because it was such a fucking roller coaster ride. And the music also shifts into high gear at that moment, gets really pumping and everything, and gets you really into the action. Yeah. And like I said, the comedy is great. So, yeah. I got nothing more to add, John. Do you still have any more things that you really liked about the show? Like some, I don't know, character moments you want to highlight that really stuck with you? Or some developments you didn't see coming and were really surprised and really, really happy with how they developed?
Man, I think we touched on all of it, except for the fact that, I want more. Except for the fact that, so we ended at about chapter 140, basically. I guess the latest chapter is 186, and the English version of the manga is that like chapter 70-ish right now, and there's 2 more volumes coming out next month and in April. It's still a bit behind, so as much as I say, oh man, I want to go back and read the manga so I can find out what happens next, it'll be a bit before we can find that out. So, but I think they got us both on the hook pretty well. So if the English version of the manga gets past where the show ended, or if they announce a 3rd season at some point, yes, let's go.
Yeah, me too. In the beginning, I thought like I would go to the manga, but now I'm so invested, in the presentation, except for anything but the animation, the performance of the voice actors, the music and sound design, everything. I want to stick with the anime. Maybe for the 2nd season we'll get a bit more budget. I don't know how successful it was. Maybe there was enough interest to give it like a budget boost or something and make it look a bit better. But it doesn't really need to. I'm gonna stick with the anime, definitely, unless it doesn't get a new season. That would be really horrible.
That would be a damn shame.
Yeah, that would be a fucking shame. And I don't know how at what rate the chapters get released usually for the manga, like how many chapters there are in each year.
Yeah, that I'm not sure about.
Yeah, so I wonder when we could even expect, like you said, like 70 chapters a series, right?
About.
How many are there? How many manga chapters are out there right now?
We're up to 186. I think the first 160 have all been like compiled into the tankobon, like the individual volume formats, but 161 through 186 are still sort of floating out there.
So we probably need around another 30 to 40 chapters before maybe a new season gets announced.
Yeah.
And yeah, who knows how long that will take. I don't know how fast the author of the manga draws that stuff. I think the manga looks a lot better than the anime, so there's probably some time put into
well,
this.
I mean, I'm just looking it up now, and apparently chapter 186 came out last week, so
okay,
there you go.
Yeah, well, I think that is when 85 came out, so
yeah, I think Noda is very hard at work.
That's great to hear, and I hope he doesn't stop or doesn't fall into a hiatus like some other people. And I hope the anime adaptation was successful enough that we eventually get another season, because I can't wait. And yeah, I can't recommend this show hard enough. Both of us can't. And if you're looking for something really different, something weird, out of the ordinary, in a scenario, in a setting that is very, very underused in anime that I, in fact, have probably not seen before, in a style that I've not really seen before, which is like I said, this weird kind of Western-ish style, just set in Japan with all the sensibilities that it entails and everything. Just for something that nobody of us saw coming and was totally enthralled by. Definitely check this out. Like Golden Kamuy, it's a Western, it's a comedy, it's horror, it's drama, it's a wildlife, culinary, cultural history documentary, it's an action show, a heist show, a mystery. You get so much, and for some reason it all works and fits together in all its janky gloriousness, and we love it for that. And I think if you give it a chance, you will love it too. And that is a wrap on the 66th episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vrt.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. Our show is available on most of the popular podcast services, but it's always worth visiting animebrainfreeze.com for our review index and some interesting articles linked in our episode release posts. Follow us on Twitter at animebrainfreeze. We tweet regular updates and fun anime-related stuff there. Leave us comments and questions on Facebook and our YouTube channel, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time. And please join us again on our next show. Macht's gut.
So long, everybody.
Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
We get about as neurotic as outer space mecha battles can get.
Our fate is to stay for dinner.
And the ghouliest anecdotes of retail work you ever did read.